Hey, you. Welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today, we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. She hugged you, but her body language said, let's get into it. You ever notice how a simple hug can feel like a shock wave through your body? And you're left wondering, what does she really mean by this? Most men think a hug is just a hug, just a polite, friendly gesture. But that's where the trap lies. The truth is, every touch a woman gives is loaded with subtle signals most men completely miss. And missing them isn't just about misunderstanding her. It's about missing your chance to truly connect on a deeper level, emotionally and even sexually. Think about the last time she hugged you. Was it a quick surface level squeeze like she was checking a box on her social obligations list? Or was it a hug that lingered just a little too long enough that your heart caught off guard and you couldn't help but feel it in your chest? That lingering, almost imperceptible pause isn't random. It's her body speaking even when her lips are saying nothing. And here's the brutal truth. If you don't learn to read it, someone else will. There's a science behind this. Female psychology is wired in a way that communicates far more through body language than words. When she pulls you in close, when her chest brushes against yours, when her arms wrap around you in a way that feels intentional rather than automatic, she's revealing her emotional state, her curiosity, and sometimes her desire. This isn't manipulation, it's biology. Women instinctively express comfort, attraction, and vulnerability in ways they can't articulate verbally. Your job as a man is to tune into these frequencies that others ignore. But here's where most men stumble. They either overreact or completely misinterpret. Some laugh it off, joking, it's just a hug. Others freeze, unsure what to do next, and let the moment slip away. Neither approach works. The key is understanding the layers beneath the surface, the warmth in her embrace, the direction of her hands, the pressure of her body. Is she hesitant, careful, almost pulling back? That's caution, respect, or uncertainty. Is she leaning in, pressing closer, holding you a heartbeat too long? That's curiosity, comfort, and a signal that you've reached a rare emotional threshold. Here's a truth most men aren't ready for. A hug can be more revealing than a conversation. In one single embrace, you can gauge her interest, her mood, her emotional openness, and even the subtle spark of desire. You can sense if she sees you as just a friend, someone she can rely on, or someone she's quietly testing to see if you notice the chemistry building. And when you start noticing these patterns, your perspective on her behavior changes entirely. You stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You start reading the invisible cues that tell you exactly where you stand in her mind. But there's an unspoken warning here. Not every hug is a green light. Some are purely platonic, an expression of comfort, reassurance, or routine. If you misread those signals and push forward recklessly, you risk scaring her off or misrepresenting yourself. That's why emotional intelligence is crucial. Your ability to sense the underlying message is more important than words. And once you learn to do this consistently, something almost magical happens. You no longer wait for signs. She starts giving them intentionally because she knows you understand. Let me leave you with this thought. The next time she wraps her arms around you, don't just stand there. Pay attention to the micro moments, the pull, the squeeze, the warmth against your chest. These fleeting, delicate signals are the blueprint of her emotions. If you read them correctly, you unlock insights into her mind and heart that 90% of men never see. And the moment you truly understand this, you'll notice something else. Women begin responding differently. They become more open, more curious, and even subtly flirtatious without saying a word. Here's a simple test for you to try tonight. Recall the last hug she gave you. How long did she hold on? Did she lean in or pull away? Did her hands rest lightly, or did they press slightly as if seeking connection? Write it down mentally, observe the pattern. This small exercise will start training your mind to decode signals that are invisible to almost every other man. Because once you see what she's really telling you, everything changes. Now that you've started noticing the subtle shifts in her touch, let's talk about the intensity behind a hug. You see, there's a spectrum of physical contact that carries completely different meanings depending on context, timing, and her emotional state. And this is where most men completely miss the cues because they're too focused on words, or worse, they're trapped in their own assumptions. The truth is, her body will never lie. When she hugs you with warmth and intention, there's a reason her entire posture changes. Her shoulders relax. Her chest rises slightly toward you. Her arms wrap with more pressure than casual etiquette requires. That's her subconscious signaling comfort and trust. But notice this, comfort isn't always neutral. When a woman feels safe with a man she's attracted to, that safety creates a quiet tension. It's like a silent test, an invisible line she wants to see if you'll cross without forcing it. If you notice that tension, if you sense that tiny hesitation in her body language, it's a moment to match her energy, not to shove forward or pull away. Here's something most men ignore. Where her hands rest matters more than how long she hugs you. If they linger around your back, it's reassurance. But if they hover near your shoulders or even brush lightly against your chest, there's curiosity and perhaps something deeper brewing beneath the surface. Her body is offering you a glimpse into her emotional world, and only the observant, patient man sees it. Men who can't read this simply assume it's accidental or irrelevant. That's where desire dies before it even begins. And there's another layer, the micro pulls and releases in a hug. Ever felt her hands subtly adjust, pulling closer, then easing back slightly? That push and pull is her subconscious probing, almost like she's saying, "Are you paying attention? Can you handle my signals?" Most men fail this test because they respond too aggressively or too passively. The right response isn't action, it's awareness. Notice, internalize, and adjust your energy to meet hers. When you do, you communicate understanding without uttering a single word. And that, my friend, is rare and magnetic. The timing of the hug also tells a story. A hug at a casual goodbye carries one message, while a hug after an intense conversation, a joke, or a personal confession carries another entirely. After she shared something vulnerable, a lingering embrace isn't just comfort. It's an invitation to step into her emotional space, and stepping in doesn't mean overstepping. It means your presence becomes grounding, reassuring, and subtly irresistible. Women respond to that energy instinctively. They notice men who get it even when they don't consciously realize it themselves. Now, let's expose the elephant in the room. Sexual tension often hides in a hug subtext. When her body leans slightly forward, pressing closer than casual boundaries require. When her head tilts toward your shoulder just for a heartbeat longer than normal, there's an unspoken question. Do you notice me in the way I want to be noticed? That's where emotional intelligence is your superpower. Most men either shrug or misread it. You, however, can see it clearly. You can feel it. And that awareness alone begins to shift how she perceives you. Suddenly, you're no longer just a man in the room. You're the man who understands her without needing words. But here's the danger. Ignore these subtle cues and the moment evaporates. The emotional charge dissipates. She hugs you politely, but the spark, the curiosity, the intrigue, the unspoken connection slips through your fingers. And that's why mastering this skill is essential. Not to manipulate, not to force, but to genuinely understand her psyche and respond in ways that deepen connection, attraction, and emotional intimacy. So tonight, think back to your last encounters. Replay each hug in your mind. Notice the hands, the pull, the pressure, the tilt of her head. Did she test your awareness, Did she leave a question in her silence? The more you study these micro details, the more you'll start seeing patterns that almost no other man recognizes. And that, my friend, is how attraction subtly shifts in your favor without her ever saying a word. Before we move forward, I want you to hold on to this insight. Every hug she gives is a coded message, a small revelation about her trust, her curiosity, and even her desire. Your ability to decode. It isn't just about understanding women, it's about elevating your emotional presence to a level most men never reach. There's a reason some hugs leave you breathless, your chest tight, your mind buzzing long after she lets go. It's not just coincidence, it's psychology in motion. When a woman hugs you, she isn't just wrapping her arms around your body. She's testing the emotional chemistry between you, probing the subconscious layers of trust, desire, and curiosity. And most men are blind to it. They think a hug is a neutral gesture, but a hug can be a revelation. A message written in body language that your mind needs to decode if you want to understand her fully. Here's the first psychological truth. Women instinctively use touch to measure emotional safety. When her arms circle you, it's like she's asking without words, "Can I trust you? Do you respect my space? Do you notice me?" That tiny question embedded in milliseconds of pressure tells you more about her mindset than any conversation ever could. And when you read it correctly, the dynamic subtly shifts. You're no longer just a participant. You're someone she subconsciously evaluates as reliable, aware, and emotionally tuned. That's magnetic because women are wired to respond to men who understand their signals without needing them spelled out. Second truth, a hug can amplify attraction through subtle mirroring. Your bodies naturally sync, heartbeat, breath, shoulder pressure, and her body is subconsciously gauging whether your energy aligns with hers. If she leans in just a fraction more, if her hands linger slightly, it's a test of resonance. Your reactions, calm, confident, aware, create a feedback loop. She feels seen, she feels understood, and that tiny spark, that micro alignment, is the foundation of emotional intimacy. Most men overlook this entirely, but it's why some hugs linger in memory, while others fade instantly. Now here's the part most men never realize. The brain's response to touch is chemical, almost primal. When a woman hugs you with subtle intention, it triggers oxytocin, the bonding hormone, not just for her, but for you as well. That's why certain embraces leave your chest warm, your mind racing, your emotions heightened. It's biology speaking, not words. And the key is awareness. If you understand the underlying emotional and chemical signals, you can interact in ways that deepen connection rather than destroy the moment. But not all hugs are created equal. Some are purely platonic, a friendly squeeze, a fleeting acknowledgement. And the smart man knows the difference between platonic comfort and emotional testing. Platonic hugs are neutral, almost casual. There's no lingering warmth in the hands, no slight pressure into your body, no micro adjustments in posture. Emotional or attraction-based hugs, on the other hand, are nuanced. They involve imperceptible cues, a hand resting slightly longer on your back, a subtle lean toward your chest, a tilt of the head that invites closeness. These are coded messages, and decoding them requires practice, attention, and honesty with yourself. Let's go deeper. The emotional state she brings into the hug is everything. Is she anxious, happy, playful, vulnerable? Women instinctively infuse their energy into touch. And here's where men lose the advantage. They interpret all hugs the same way, but if you attune your awareness to her emotional energy, you start to feel what she's really conveying: curiosity, attraction, trust, or even testing boundaries. Recognizing that energy allows you to respond in ways that elevate tension, create connection, and leave her wanting more. Finally, there's a secret most men miss. Timing magnifies impact. A hug at the wrong moment when she's distracted, stressed, or preoccupied carries little weight. A hug when she's laughing, reflecting, or feeling safe, That's when her subconscious communicates the most. She'll unconsciously gauge your energy, notice your awareness, and decide whether you're someone who gets it. That subtle approval or lack thereof can change the trajectory of your relationship long before any words are exchanged. So, here's your challenge. Next time she hugs you, pause mentally, feel her energy, notice the hands, the chest, the micro adjustments. Ask yourself, is this casual comfort or is there curiosity hiding beneath the surface? That awareness isn't just insight, it's a skill. A skill that puts you ahead of 90% of men because most of them never look, never feel, never understand what she's really saying. And here's the final insight for this section. The more attuned you become to these micro signals, the more she subconsciously responds to your presence, your confidence, your awareness. A simple hug transforms from a casual gesture into a powerful dialogue without words. A silent conversation where every touch, every pause, every subtle pressure speaks volumes. There's a hidden language in every hug a woman gives, and most men will never hear it because they're too busy thinking with their eyes or their ego instead of their instincts. But the truth is, every micro movement, every pressure, every fraction of a second she lingers is a window into her mind, a map of her curiosity, comfort, and desire. And once you understand this, you begin to see hugs not as random gestures, but as coded invitations that reveal her subconscious interest in you. Here's a secret most men overlook. When a woman hugs you and subtly leans in, she's unconsciously testing how you handle proximity and intimacy. It's not about sex, it's about emotional energy. She wants to feel if you're grounded, confident, and comfortable in her presence. That's why the men who panic, who stiffen, or who respond with awkward energy lose instantly. But the man who simply senses, mirrors, and maintains calm awareness becomes magnetic. You communicate stability without words, and that stability triggers an unspoken attraction in her brain. Another hidden desire is revealed through touch intensity. When she presses just a little closer or her hands rest slightly longer on your back, it's a silent probe. She's measuring your awareness, your sensitivity to nuance, and whether you notice her without her saying anything. That micro-testing isn't conscious, it's instinct. Women are wired to evaluate men through subtle touch, body language, and energy alignment. The man who notices and respects the pattern stands out. The man who doesn't, he disappears from her emotional radar without even knowing why. Here's where most men get it wrong. They treat all hugs the same, ignoring context. But context changes everything. A hug during a moment of shared laughter communicates something very different than a hug after a deep personal conversation. In moments of vulnerability, when she trusts you enough to lean in, her hug carries more than warmth. It carries opportunity. It's a chance for you to match her energy with subtle confidence, awareness, and presence. That's the kind of hug that creates emotional tension, attraction, and curiosity, all without a single word being spoken. Timing also reveals desire. Pay attention to when she initiates the hug, how long she holds it, and the micro adjustments she makes. If she's nervous or playful, it may indicate curiosity. If she's relaxed and intentionally presses closer, it signals comfort and trust. And here's the psychological truth most men ignore. The hug is often a mirror. Her body is showing you how she feels about you. Your reaction, subtle, confident, emotionally tuned, completes the circuit. That's when a simple embrace transforms into a moment of unspoken connection that lingers in her mind. And now, the most overlooked part, her breathing, her pulse, the subtle movement of her head and shoulders. All these signals communicate interest and emotional openness, leaning into her chest slightly, tilting her head toward your shoulder, softening her body. These are instinctive actions women use to gauge your energy and your presence. Most men are completely unaware, missing the entire dialogue. The man who notices these micro signals doesn't just connect physically, he connects psychologically, emotionally, and subtly sexually all in one moment. The key here isn't manipulation, it's awareness. It's understanding that hugs are a reflection of emotional state, curiosity, and desire. Respond too aggressively, and you break the flow. Respond passively, and you miss the chance to deepen her interest. The masterful approach is subtle, awareness, presence, and a mirrored energy that matches hers. That's when the power of the hug becomes apparent. She'll feel drawn to you almost without knowing why, because you understood her message when no one else did. So, tonight I want you to recall the last hug she gave you. How did her body move? How long did she linger? Did she lean in or adjust subtly? Did her hands press slightly or float lightly? Each detail is a clue to her hidden desires. The moment you start seeing these patterns, you're no longer guessing, you're decoding her subconscious messages. And when you respond with calm awareness and quiet confidence, you unlock a level of connection most men only dream about. Remember, her hug is a language and your mind is the key to understanding it. Master this and you'll notice something profound. She starts giving these signals intentionally, seeking your awareness, inviting you into a deeper emotional and psychological connection that most men never experience. Now that you understand the hidden language behind a hug, it's time to see the bigger picture. Every hug she gives is more than a touch. It's a message, a test, a silent invitation into her emotional and psychological world. The way she moves, the subtle pressure, the lingering warmth. These are all signals that reveal her interest, comfort, and curiosity. Most men never notice this because they're too busy thinking with their ego instead of their instincts. But when you train yourself to see it, your entire dynamic with women changes. You become someone she subconsciously notices, respects, and even desires. Here's the critical insight. Emotional intelligence trumps brute action. The man who notices the micro cues, the tilt of her head, the gentle pull of her hands, the way her chest leans toward yours, sends a signal that is far more compelling than words or gestures. Women can feel awareness, sensitivity, and calm confidence at a level deeper than consciousness. When you reflect her energy without overreacting, you communicate stability, presence, and attraction simultaneously. That is a magnet for women, and it's subtle, sophisticated, and unmistakable to the perceptive female mind. And don't underestimate timing. A hug isn't just about duration, it's about emotional context. Is she hugging you after laughter, teasing, or playful moments that conveys curiosity and comfort? Is she hugging you after a deep or vulnerable conversation that communicates trust and emotional openness? Each situation creates a unique psychological signal, and your awareness of it determines whether you merely participate in the moment or transform it. The difference between those two outcomes is almost always emotional attentiveness. Here's the truth many men overlook. Desire is often hidden in restraint. She may hesitate slightly, adjust subtly, or linger just a fraction longer than necessary. Those micro moments are the tests she unconsciously performs. Does the man she's hugging recognize the signal? Does he respond with calm confidence? Or does he break the subtle tension with nervousness or passivity? Your ability to respond appropriately doesn't just enhance attraction, it builds trust, emotional resonance, and a quiet sense of intrigue that most men can't create. Now let's bring it all together. The most effective way to leverage this understanding isn't manipulation. It's mastery of presence. Be aware, be attentive, and match her energy subtly. Notice her micro adjustments, the pressure, the tilt of her head, the warmth in her arms. Reflect that energy calmly and confidently. Your presence becomes a mirror for her subconscious desires. She'll feel drawn to you without knowing why. She'll linger longer in your proximity, laugh more freely, and subtly test your awareness in ways she didn't before. The real power of understanding her hugs isn't just attraction, it's connection. The moments that feel fleeting, like a casual embrace, are actually opportunities to observe, measure, and respond to her emotional state. With practice, you stop guessing about her intentions, you stop overthinking, you start seeing her true signals, decoding the language of subtle touch and unspoken desire that most men miss entirely. And once you reach this level of awareness, your relationships, your presence, and your influence all shift. So here's a challenge for you. Think back to the last time she hugged you. How long did she linger? Did her hands move subtly, or did her body shift toward yours? Did you notice? Now take a moment to really visualize it. And in the comments below, answer this. If you multiply the number of seconds she held the hug by the number of subtle touches you noticed, what's the total? Share your number. Like this video if it resonates. Subscribe for more insights into female psychology. And share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Because the men who notice the details, the energy, the signals, they're the ones who unlock the invisible code behind attraction. Remember this, a hug is never just a hug. It's a conversation without words, a test of awareness, and a glimpse into her heart and mind. The man who decodes it becomes unforgettable. The man who ignores it fades into the background. Make the choice to see, feel, and respond.